газраас ирсэн. Канада улстай гарааны бизнесийн экосистем тэр дундаа технологийн гарааны компаниудад чиглэсэн хөрөнгө оруулалтыг удирдахын сэдвээр Startup Venture Partners компани гүйцэтгэх захирал ноён Stuart Brown.
Hello everyone, my name is Stuart Brown. As you heard, I'm with Startup Venture Partners, which is a venture capital fund located in Canada. And I just want to take a quick poll here. Who in the room considers themselves to be either an entrepreneur or someone who wants to become an entrepreneur one day? And who in the room considers themselves to be a part of a service provider that offers support to entrepreneurs within the startup tech ecosystem? Okay, great, thanks. Well, I'm really happy to be here. I just want to give you some interesting trivia about Canada and Mongolia. Many of you may not already know this, but thousands of years ago, it was actually Mongolians who were the first settlers in Canada. We refer to these Aboriginal people within our country as First Nations or natives. You can't hear me. Oh, okay.
Do you want the other one?
Sure. Great, thanks. So yeah, as I was mentioning, is this on? It's not on.
You gotta get pretty close down.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just pull it.
Hello? Hello? All right, okay, sorry about the technical difficulties here with the sound. So as I mentioned, interesting fact, not only does Canada and Mongolia have our weather in common and the fact that we're both resource-centric economies, we do a lot of mining, etc., but our first settlers were actually Mongolians, so just interesting bit of information. And I'm very happy to be here with you just to chat about Canada's ecosystem, to see if there's some sort of cross-pollination we could allow for what we're doing and what Mongolians can learn from us to help your startup tech ecosystem. The world is flat. This is a book title by the author named Thomas Friedman. And basically, it's a metaphor for the fact that the evolution of technology, because it's becoming so much cheaper and it's becoming so much easier and so much faster to create software, and because of the internet and the ability to connect with markets all over the world, the playing field is being leveled between early stage tech companies and large conglomerates. Here's a perfect example of this. Bill Gates is known to say that his biggest fear is not his major competitors, but two guys working in a garage on something he doesn't know about, i.e. a startup tech company. And who those two guys ended up being? Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the founders of Google. So more on that thought. There's a famous venture capitalist from Silicon Valley named Mark Andreessen of the VC firm Andreessen Horowitz. So he's famously quoted as saying, software is eating the world. So what he means by that is, once again, because of the evolution of software and technology, many industries that were never considered before to be software related, and many corporations that have had a stronghold on these industries for decades are being overthrown by startup tech companies. And some examples of how that's happened are Airbnb, for example. It's one of the most highly valuable hotel line companies in the world, yet it owns no real estate, yet it's still a hotel company. Skype, as many of you know, it's actually one of the biggest players in the international phone calling market. And it too is a software company. It's not a telecom company, yet it's competing with all of the big telecom players. Uber, as many of you know, is a software company that is actually one of the most valuable taxi-related companies on the planet, and it doesn't own any vehicles. And of course, another example is Amazon.com, which is one of the biggest players in the retail space. Yet it too is a software company that owns no brick and mortar retail stores. So, as I mentioned before, something that Mongolia and Canada has in common is that we're both very reliant on natural resources. Our economies are driven by the mining sector as well as oil and gas. But the danger of having an economy so dependent on natural resources is that natural resources are finite. There's only so many minerals that you can dig up from your ground before you deplete all of the resources. So the sector that has the highest growth potential for any economy is the tech sector, because you can grow it, have very little overhead, you're not depleting the environment's resources, and you can grow exponentially and create many jobs and grow the GDP of your economy substantially as well. So now I'd just like to talk about Canada's startup tech ecosystem specifically. Some of the things that we've done in our country that have allowed us to really turn our economy into a knowledge-based economy are as follows. We have very favorable market conditions. Canada has the much lower tax rates, lower wages, and very high government support, which lead to a very low-cost environment for early-stage tech companies to thrive, especially compared to the US. Some examples of how Canada is achieving strides within the tech world is there's a company called Shopify that just IPO'd for $1 billion. There's other examples of successful tech companies that have come out of Canada. For example, Radiant6, which was acquired by Salesforce.com for $300 million. Club Penguin, which is an online platform for kids, was acquired by Disney for $700 million. Also, within Waterloo, one of the founders of BlackBerry created a $200 million quantum nanocenter, which is the only lab in the world that combines quantum computing, the fastest computing on the planet, with nanotechnology. And Toronto was ranked 4th best city in the world for launching a tech company. And Canada is ranked 2nd best for VC investing 5 years in a row, and 3rd globally for tech M&A deals. So now I'd like to look at Canada's startup tech ecosystem and how we got to the stage where we're at, where we are achieving such strides within the tech world. This is kind of like a map or a graph of where the different organizations within its startup tech ecosystem lie among a tech company's life cycle. As you can see, as the tech company grows within its life cycle and reaches different stages, whether it be startup, early growth, or late stage, there are organizations in Canada that are there to support and profit from each stage, as well as work together. So there are incubators and accelerators. We've heard a little bit about them today, but what they actually are a big office space or a big open area where many early stage tech companies and entrepreneurs can locate themselves and work from. And within these large open office spaces, there's a very strong community that develops because these entrepreneurs, don't necessarily look at themselves, each other as competitors, but more they look at each other within a co-opetition mind frame, where they're there to give each other support, whether it be technological support or support in terms of business strategy, marketing, etc. Also, the people who run incubators and accelerators are very strongly connected, not only in the VC and the startup tech ecosystem, but also outside. Within the incubator of our VC fund, PICAP, we have some of the top legal firms, consulting firms, accounting firms, and other professionals within the corporate world that lend support to the entrepreneurs within our incubator. And then there's angel groups. So as you recall from that life cycle of how organizations meet the needs of startup tech companies as their firms grow, once they graduate from the incubator, accelerator environment, they're usually ready to receive angel investment, usually from angel groups, which is basically a club of high net worth individuals who get together and see presentations by entrepreneurs for investment opportunities. These angel investors are investing their own savings. Their profile is usually former successful entrepreneurs that made quite a lot of capital on their own, and instead of wanting to sit on a beach all day or play golf, they want to utilize their skills, resources, and network to help out other companies and give back. The government plays an important role as well. In Canada, there's many different programs where early stage companies can receive grants, as well as other types of funding in the terms of loans. And this is important for the ecosystem because as an investor, it encourages me to put more capital into a company when the government's matching it, because the company's going to get more money so they can continue growing their business, but I don't have to worry about my equity position being diluted. So I can maintain my pro rata equity stake, have the company get more capital and grow, and it's not going to cost me anything. And then of course my favorite, the venture capital organizations that support tech companies. Usually after they've depleted all of the resources in the angel world, as well as the government grants, etc., and they need more capital to continue growing, and they fit in with the profile of the type of companies that VCs look for, then they would be ripe for VC funding. And what a venture capital fund is, essentially, is just like a mutual fund or a hedge fund. We gather capital from investors, usually institutional investors or high net worth individuals, and we manage that investment pool, and on their behalf we invest into these companies. But unlike a mutual fund, we actually are heavily involved within the companies we invest in by providing them whatever resources they need to continue growing. And I'd just like to leave you with a final thought from that same book, The World is Flat. And I would just like you to think about it in terms of Mongolia. I know Mongolia right now is very early on in the development of their startup tech ecosystem, but I just want all of you to not be discouraged by that. Canada was able to develop a thriving technology ecosystem. I believe there's no reason why Mongolia can't do that as well. And just with this final quote to drive that message home. With technological innovation, historical and geographical divisions are becoming increasingly irrelevant. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to networking with you later on today.